Hi, welcome to Cherie's weight loss journey. Okay, uh, it's a little overcast today, but hey, it's still warm. So it's 7 o'clock in the morning, and we're gonna get out and see if we can actually take a walk in this nice, cool weather before it rains. I don't know if it's gonna rain, but even if it does, we're all right with that. Hold on. So yeah, you know, I have to keep my dog, healthy and my body healthy, get some fresh air, you know. Yeah. So anyway, the solar solstice was beautiful. It was beautiful. Um, we we didn't suffer, getting involved literally in the war. Not yet, anyway. It's been put on a delay, and that's great. You know. So here's one of the things, right? That there seems like there's a misconception. There's a lot of draconians that feel like they're actually, a peaceful dragon. Yeah, they think they're peaceful. Fire breathing, tentacles, and yeah. Okay, anyway. Was the dragon in Shrek a friendly dragon? Or what was the name of that other movie? Tame Your Dragon or something like that. I don't know. Anyway. So, yeah. The misconception is that most dragons are actually warring in nature because they have the kind of reptilian blood in them. Now, that's not to say they can't be nice. I'm not saying they can't be nice, right? I mean, even an evil person can be nice, okay? But it takes a lot of restraint. It takes a lot of, training to, to reprogram your instincts. To reprogram them instincts. To dominate. To control. Yeah. So, another message was, a lot of people were asking, why Trump? Why Trump? Well, Trump is a great reflection about what's going on in our society. Yes, he is. Right? And he does it very well. He reflects, what's going on, in the people in our society. Now, of course, when he gets control of himself, then that's a signal that society is also getting in control of themselves. Yeah, I guess you didn't know that, huh? Right? You kept hearing mirror, 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 right? Now here's another thing that I wanted to talk about is y'all keep hearing 1111, and yeah, it's a divine number, but it's also a, a memory that we're in the age of Aquarius, and we need healing to reflect the age of Aquarius. We're not in the age of Pisces. Pisces is just like the 12th house. If you know what the 12th house is, right? Fantasy, hidden enemies, addictions. Yeah. And if you look back and see what was going on, that's what happened. Now, I don't see that there's a problem, right? When, okay, they were giving, fair warning long in advance. The age of Aquarius is going to be something different, right? Okay, so then you see that, changes are happening, and that whatever grasp that you had obtained, that it was time to start wrapping that up. And then sit your ass down before you get laid out. So they were like, we're the high priestess. Like, yeah, you could have carried that over with you if, you hadn't, did things that, would cause you to lose your powers, right? You could have definitely carried that over. But when you start doing things like trying to hoard the power and oppress people, you're going to lose your power. Right? And that's something that should probably be communicated, 2,500 years from now, when we go into Capricorn season, that the age of Aquarius is stopping and release, right? Because we know Capricorn ain't gonna play with y'all. All right, Capricorn is not gonna play with y'all. Or at least I know Capricorn ain't gonna play with y'all. And Capricorns, they don't like to give second chances. It's like, you fuck up, you fucked up. For real. Okay? But anyway, another thing that I wanted to talk about is I hear all of these people that are intuitive, right? Intuitive is a clairsentience that's very similar to an empath, okay? And I'm like, how come y'all can't feel these people hurting if you're really an empath? I mean, I've seen some of y'all intentionally misguide people who are in pain and causing them more pain. Why would you do that? Just like when I have posted on one of my videos, I think it's the last one where I'm like, oh my gosh, I can feel when certain people are, have died. I definitely felt it when my parents had died. I felt it. Not because I knew about it, but because I felt it. Okay? And, we can get that same kind of energy off of other people. All right? So, hold on. So we're here at this beautiful park. We've been here before. It's small enough that I don't think my Snoopy would get too tired. Yeah. So now getting back to what does age of Aquarius mean, right? Well, the age of Aquarius means, individuality, but also totally aware and cognizant of the people that they associate with. that are in their surroundings. Okay? That's simple. But simple doesn't always mean easy, especially when, people have gotten used to being in cliques, gangs, and, oppressive energy such as, if you're not with me, then you're against me. Right? So, hopefully, if we keep our eye on Trump, we'll know, what's going on in the world because he represents the world. Even though, he's of the majority, he also has, compassion for the minority. Hold on. In case y'all was wondering about what I meant with whoever, holds the food, controls who gets to eat, who gets to eat. Go on. Who gets fed. I was talking about like say right now we're going to get in. Hold on. So when they control the hunting and the fishing and license and require licensing, how much you can how much you can hunt and how much, what time of the year you can hunt. And that's important. It definitely is important. I'm not saying it's not important, but it's not the same way that it was when, like my mom and dad, when they was going through a recession, they could just go and fish, or they can go hunting and still, at least be able to eat. But when that's, under control, when we go through, these tough times as a country, they should have provisions to allow people to eat. Now, I am thankful that Social Security has included food stamps for some seniors over the age of 60. Yeah, I found that out. I was like, what is this? And I read through it, and it was basically telling me that, people 60 years, I think it was 60 years and older, can apply for food stamps. And I thought that was great because food is very high. Everything is high. Let's keep it real. Everything is high. Nobody had anticipated this type of inflation. This type of aggressive, competitive, job market, land market, you name it, school, everything is just really, really, really competitive. So, and that's the major reason. That's the major reason why a lot of people will say, they had to leave America. They had to leave America because it was too stressful, right? The hustle and bustle was too much. And then the cost was just going up too high too. So, and that was because more people was like, oh, you want this? Okay, how much you willing to pay for it? And that was, kind of problematic because, they were all striving to be capitalizing on the needs of people. And of course, my mind would argue, why? Why are they doing this, right? I mean, they totally disregarded the usury clauses of laws that they used to have in place. With hedgehog, right? These people that are out here buying up homes as a investment, they were not allowed to. Back in the day, they were not allowed. Now they could make investments such as apartments and commercial real estate, but for whatever reason, they started allowing them to buy out homes, and that's a problem. And that's it's one thing to develop homes, but it's another thing to buy up homes. And they said, well, there's a market out there, that there are people out there that needs to to be relieved of their property. They're just trying to get out of their property, and that's true. So it's like you have to figure out some kind of way to keep the shit balanced. Because I can't even tell you how many times I'm like, ooh, maybe I should buy one of these, buy a home for cash and cash on out and get the fuck on out of here. Then I get mad because I'm like, no, this is more my country than anybody else here. The blacks, the whites, the Mexicans, this land here was Indian land, Native Americans. And I'd rather be called a Native American than an Aboriginal. It's just too close to abnormal to me. So, no, I don't want to be called an Aboriginal. So, yeah. I just love that it feels so calm right now. So, yeah. Also, there was good news that that the FBI is now involved in the illegal transaction of property, because there had been, and a lot of people were crying about their inheritance. So it was nice. It was really nice to hear that, somebody is going to actually get a sizable size of inheritance. That, there was a whole conspiracy to keep, their inheritance from them. It was huge. There was a lot of people involved, including professionals that was acting unprofessionally. Yeah, they do that. So that was a beautiful thing that made me feel uplifted, because there's this YouTuber, and I'm telling you, she says that she's the offspring of Luther Vandross, and that she had been denied her inheritance. That's immediately who I thought about. And I was looking at her, and I was like, she does look like Luther Vandross. You know, she got his genes. You know, if not, you know, Luther's brother. I'm serious. But see, this is the whole thing. The whole thing about our society is they are so dismissive of women that they're able to get away with murder, right? When a woman says something, instead of them investigating it, you know, they're like, well, you know, if you got the money, you investigate it. It's like, how am I going to have the money when you don't even want me in the jobs? You don't even want me in the job force. And even if I was in the job force, the only thing that you're going to let me do is some kind of job, some domesticated job, some kind of job that's not going to pay me barely enough to provide for me and my families. And who got money for an attorney that ain't going to believe you anyway? They're going to charge you hours of research, and they're like, nah, we're not going to find nothing. They're lying. You know, because that's how dismissive men are. You can pay them to do their professional job. Right? Just like here's an analogy. When women go to the mechanic shop, right? They're like, yeah, she's a woman, you know, she don't know nothing about cars, you know, she's talking about, you know, what's wrong with her car, and she want to pay us to, you know, she want to just, you know, she want to pay for repairs. But, you know, once women had even started letting them know, hey, you know, I've already had a diagnosis on my car, you know, but I need this repair because this is what I can afford. You know, the vindictiveness of men, you know, it's like, oh, yeah, okay, you know, where they might forget to put a screw in, a bolt, they might break something else in the process of repairing, you know, your car, you know, the kind of disrespect that they would never do, you know, if it had been a man, you know, because they don't want some man coming back, you know, and get savage on them. I said savage, and it reminded me of the WWF wrestler that was named Savage. Yeah. So this is why men really have to stop it, because, you know, you're trying to take advantage and cheat women who, yeah, they may have agreed at one time, you know, about the inequity, but then why would you turn around and cheat them? Now they're at a loss. Not just inequity, but loss. So another thing that I was talking about, right? Where these men are out here, I ain't gonna get married. I keep waiting for them to say they ain't gonna have no sex, but they're not saying that. They're saying that, you know, they'll be happy with just prostitutes, right? Well, what does that mean? They're gonna turn more women into prostitutes? Because that's how they got the prostitutes in the first place, right? They're the ones that made the prostitutes. These women don't know who's out here, willing to pay for sex. They don't. Some of them. Let me stop. Y'all need to stop it. Just stop it, stop it, stop it. And then, while they're sitting up here, abducting women to become prostitutes, they think that they're supposed to have a good wife. It's like, you done sat up here and ruined all of these future wives for these men out here by turning them into prostitutes because, you wanted to try them on and they ain't the one. They're not the one. It took you 6 months to find out that they're not the one. It took you 3 months to find out that they're not the one. That's turning a woman into a prostitute right there. And they've gotten so vicious that they think that if they take a woman out on a date and she's trying to be sensitive, right, to him, he spends $500 on the date, right? But she's clocking it, right? Because she's only having a salad and maybe a soda pop. She knows, she's not trying to take advantage of him, but he's like, I spent $500 on a date. And it's like, yeah, but her meal only costs $25 at best. So he thinks that he has the right, after being gluttonous, to ravage her. Stop it. Just stop it. You would have did better just to go on and pay her card note. Ain't nobody fool. Well, I'm gonna take her to a 5-star restaurant. You're like, what we going to this restaurant for? They don't have nothing here that I eat. I'm a vegetarian. Like, well, I thought maybe you might wanted a steak for once. Whatever. Okay? You're delusional in your own imagination. It was just your imagination once again, running away with you. Oh, and I'm kind of scared, to have my car plugged up in this hot weather. After hearing that somebody was charging their car in the garage and it exploded. Yeah. I was like, what the hell is this going on? So I'm going to have to figure out, how long my vehicle keeps a charge without being plugged up and parked. Yeah. So, thank you for listening to my rants. I've been, just monitoring, stabilizing, my weight. I haven't really been thinking about, losing a bunch of weight. And I'll tell you why. Because I don't want to be to the point where we have a food shortage and I don't even have any reserve. You know, if I felt as if food was abundant, I think, it would be easier for me to be a healthy weight because I know I'll be eating regularly and good food. I mean, eating beans and rice and greens, that's cool and everything, but yeah, it's not my favorite. So, um, I have been trying to make it a habit to at least, consume 80 grams of protein a day, at least. Um, and I kind of tapered off on the fiber. Like I said, I have some fiber. The fiber that I have, it doesn't really dissolve like the first batch that I had bought. So that was a little disappointing. And then the other one, it was flavored and that was delicious. But buying fiber is expensive. It is. Um, I can't even afford Bennett fiber. I can't afford that. That's you get a like a 8-ounce container powder, and that's going to cost you damn near $30. Um, so yeah. But the good thing is I haven't been eating a lot of sweets, and I haven't been, just binging on food. So I feel pretty good about that. Um, I probably do need to incorporate, walking more because, like I said, just doing my lightweight exercises, yeah, I'm burning up about 300 calories. However, if I walk, then I'll be getting a little bit of, aerobics and fresh air and an extra 150 calories to, you know. Um, Anything else that I wanted to talk about? I don't have nothing on my mind right now, so hold on.